Well, welcome everyone to Active Teaching Lab for this 5th of November. I always want to start with the poem. It feels like remember, remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder, treason not ever be forgot. So if you don't know that poem, it's about Guy Fawkes because today is Guy Fawkes Day. So look that one up. It's really fun. Um, Today, for Active Teaching Lab, we're talking about agents, and we're going to be talking about the agents that you can build for your own classes, but also at the end, we'll talk about some of the agents that are coming to your browsers as well. But as we get started, I really am excited to introduce Stuart Moulthrop. Stuart will be sharing with us today. Stuart Moulthrop is a distinguished professor and department chair of English here at UW-Milwaukee. He is an author of the hypertext fiction works Victory Garden and a founding board member of the Electronic Literature Organization. His research interests include electronic literature, cybertext theory, game culture, and digital media. So I feel like he is really going to have some insight for us today. He is currently teaching English 887, Seminar in Digital Studies, Media, and Technology, from which his presentation today evolves. He is going to answer some of the questions. He's going to join us today to answer the question, what if you built a chatbot and your students would rather you didn't or hadn't? Welcome, Dr. Moulthrop.
Thanks, Lane. That's what sort of wonderful introduction that was, because it hits all the points and makes it easy for me to do this thing. I'm going to jump in, folks, to a PowerPoint for a bit. I don't have any idea how long this runs, maybe 20 minutes. But feel free to interrupt me if at any point I say something that you want to ask about, and then maybe we'll have time to do a little tech stuff. Because I'm a very hands-on person with technology up to a point. So here's the PowerPoint. Oops, yes, okay, good. And I think we're in the presentation.
I can see it fine,
yeah,
thank you.
Good, okay. So what if you built a chatbot and your students would rather you hadn't, because that's kind of where I am. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not on the outs with my seminar. We're having a productive exchange of views as we go. Oops, come on. There we go. Okay, yeah. So this is a bit I don't need to do much with. I'm in the English department, but the English department is a capacious thing. It has 4 divisions, but somehow we use 8 letters of the alphabet to cover our 4 divisions. Suggesting that maybe there were like another 4 that are gone now. It's actually only about 2 that have disappeared, but the one I'm in is the most extremely lettered of them. It's Plan H, which is Media, Cinema, and Digital Studies. So I come from an English department, and my PhD is in English. But my dissertation advisor looked at the 18-page coda on my dissertation about theory of the novel. That coda was about electronic literature, which was just a new thing in the 1980s. And he looked at that and said, do that. And that's what I've done for the rest of my career, which has led to this seminar that Lane nicely queued up, Media and Technology Digital Study Seminar. So that's a little background. For this thing that I've built that I call SeminarBot, or SemBot for short, and it came about partly out of peer pressure. So Lane mentioned this thing called the Electronic Literature Organization, which is what ELO means to me, not a band, or not a way to match chess players. This ELO is it's my annual conference. I go every year. And this year I got roped into a workshop on building chatbots. And I say roped in because I had not done it at that point. So I came out of the workshop looking at what my friends had done, thinking, I have to be able to do that myself. So, knowing I was going to teach this graduate seminar in the fall, I thought, oh, well, here's what we'll do. A good friend of mine has written a very experimental novel called Uncle Buddy's Phantom Funhouse, which we're actually doing in my seminar next week. And he's built a chat bot that responds as the main character in that novel. So you can converse and dive into the world of that fiction. And I took one look at that and said, I want to be able to do that with the readings in the seminar. So that's what I did. I built a custom GPT following John McDade's notes for his BuddyBot and built a seminar bot. And it converses based on the readings in the course, and it centers conversation on the week that we're currently in, right? So the readings for the week, but it'll range out and talk about the other readings too. Before I talk a little bit more, show you a little bit of what it does, I just want to talk about why I did it. I didn't build it as a pedagogical intervention. So I wasn't really trying to build something that students would be required to use or that would be essential to their function in the course. I built it as an experiment, and I built it partly around a final project that is due next month that's called AI or not AI. And it's not like write me an essay why I would never use AI, though that is an option. It's more like here's the seminar bot, play with it, do things with it. That's one option. That's the AI option. Or try to do something that's like the seminar bot that doesn't use AI, and that might be a commonplace book, a issue of quotations. It might be an essay. It might be a collage. So that's what the AI or not AI final project is about. And the seminar bot was kind of part of that. Okay, so results. Part one, this was really easy to do. I built the syllabus planning to roll the seminar bot out in November, thinking it's going to take me 2 months to build this thing and refine it. It took more like a week. ChatGPT's interface is interesting. It's useful. I don't have a lot of trouble with it. But what's really impressive is how it handles readings input. You can just hand it PDFs. You can hand it scanned PDFs, and it has no problem with them. And, we're talking, I think, I can't remember how many pages the knowledge base for this thing comes to. It's thousands. And at no point really have I had serious performance issues with it. I was impressed with how easy the process was. And I built a tiny URL. If you want to go play with it, it's there on the screen. You do need to have a ChatGPT account, but I assume pretty much everybody here does. And these are some of the pre-prompts. You can ask it what it is, and it'll talk about itself. What is the wisdom of the week is the setup. What are the readings this week? What are they talking about? What are main themes? Tell me about your moods is so the seminar bot, like, I'm a creative writer. I couldn't resist building options for it to respond in certain styles or moods. So there's like 30 of them. I can't even remember what they all are. Two things. I mean, there's one mood where, yeah, it emulates Bob Dylan, and it'll randomly decide whether that's going to be poetry or prose. So you could actually have it sing to you if you want, I suppose. I never have. And the other thing about the moods is that I was experimenting, and it said, shall I do this in the quiet mood? And I thought, did I write a quiet mood? I hadn't. So I said to it, well, what's quiet mood? And it says, oh, would you like me to write the spec for that? And I said, sure. So at least, actually, more than one of SemBot's moods were written by SemBot, which is head exploding, but a lot of fun. So it's got moods, and it'll tell you about them. And then the last prompt I added is why do humanists hate AI? Because that's kind of the topic of this talk. So here's some output from why do humanists hate AI. and it's fairly generous in its treatment. Humanists hate AI when it pretends to know suffering or when it translates pain into pattern without listening for voice. And this is, by the way, from the readings for this week in the seminar. The critic Thomas Hobohm, we were reading, writing on the poet Lillian Yvonne Bertram's poems made with custom GPT, notes precisely this: AI risks becoming an instrument of linguistic enclosure, a tightening of language rather than an opening of meaning. And that's not a quotation. That's a phrase that the bot came up with. So, citizen, it's instructed to use playful names when talking to people. Humanists don't hate AI as such. They hate the idea of forgetting why we made it. And it goes on to talk about Heidegger, which was the first reading in the course. And then before we sign off, did you know AI once wrote a poem about its own obsolescence? It rhymed silicon with gone. Even the circuits know irony when they see it. This is because part of the programming of SemBot is to tell a dad joke 1 in 3 times, or with a 1 in 3 odds of doing it. And this is one of the good ones. Most of the dad jokes don't work. But so that's a little bit of what SeminarBot does. But I need to talk about some other results too. And this is less about, the technical side of it and more what goes on in class. So my students have a pronounced antipathy to any of the pro AI readings. That's notably Catherine Hale's, which is a little awkward for me because, like, I've known Catherine Hales for 20 some years. She knows my work. She's written about it. Without her, we would not have a field called electronic literature. She was the first, reputed college professor to say, yeah, this could be a thing. And so it's hard for me when they come at Kate. But, my students have cogent reasons for these objections, and it leads to informed debate. And there are nuances and exceptions. I wouldn't say that everybody in this class of 16 is fiercely anti-AI, but close to half of them are, and they're quite vocal. So one of the things this has meant, sadly, is that because I said use of AI in this class is voluntary, AI or not AI, they've told me they don't want me using the SemBot live in class at all because that's just taboo. I can do it, and they'll look the other way, but have to keep it on my own. I still don't know what the final projects are going to look like, but we'll see. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about this resistance because we've had a month and a half to lay it out. And I mean, these points are well taken. So my students are concerned about ethics, the misappropriation of work in training chatbots, the kind of labor that goes in, that has gone into checking and again refining chatbot behavior, which they complain about, and with some good reason. Certainly the environmental impact. I mean, this is a major problem for any of us who care about this stuff. Data centers, use of water, energy inputs. Understand they're now going to put them in orbit. Okay. And what this is all coming down to ultimately is anti-oligarch class politics. And I don't mean academic classes. I mean, Marxist classes. And that's an important ground of things. And I'm trying to unfold this a bit. My students are kind of naive politically, but we're talking. But the most important ground of resistance is pedagogy. And I thought I would go to this article from that it was just like in the New York Times last week from, I think, a philosopher at UC Irvine. Her name is Anastasia Berg. I don't know her. It's a very interesting article. It's an op-ed actually, and she writes. She has an opponent she invokes. AI enthusiasts such as Princeton's D. Graham Burnett, who I think was recently interviewed by Ezra Klein, claim that literacy is a historical aberration. Sorry, I'm moving things around so I can see my screen. No longer fit for this world. Outside a few elite institutions, Burnett argues there will soon be no point in asking students to read books. Teachers should instead ask students to do stuff with short texts, sing them, memorize them, cut them up into little pieces. I confess, this is kind of one of the options for the AI or no AI project. Stick them on the walls. In other words, we ought to welcome a return to a society where functional literacy is reserved for the privileged few. And she goes on to say, this is terrible. You know, my students don't want this. They don't do this. Um, but I'm struck by really kind of both Berg's position and this Burnett position, neither of which I will adopt myself. Um, because both of them seem to assume that we're headed inevitably for a divided house, that there will be elite institutions where people actually read books, and against that, you could rise up and say, no, 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 we resist this. We want to make sure that everybody reads books and nothing but books. Keep the AI away. That I don't like. It's incompatible with any generous understanding of the humanities, I will say. As a humanist, a digital humanist, albeit, um, it hurts my heart. I don't want to think that we will split in that way, and I'd like to resist it. And I'll talk a little bit about how that resistance might work. It is, as my seminar bot says, a tightening of language rather than an opening of meaning. So I'd like to try to resist that. So how? Uh, I'm going to talk about ways forward for just a second. One way forward, obviously, is to maintain voluntarism. So I think it's very bad, at least for humanists, to say this is an inevitable technology, you must learn it, or you'll have no career. I think you have to give people room to kick back. That's what we do in the humanities, and that means learning from critique. So one thing I've learned from one of my grad students two of my grad students who are international students, is that large language models may be most useful for people who already have advanced literacies, because both of these women do. They've already mastered literacy in some, I think, actually in more than two languages. And their use of language models is remarkable and I think very effective, but it draws heavily on what they already know about language. And for the humanities, that could have huge implications, because it might suggest that we need to, okay, do some primary literacy teaching, as I would say, as we engage people with language models. And it brings up this old question about how the humanities humanize, which is an old Richard Lanham line. Second way forward, and this is more practical, put language models, again, maybe just on the humanities side, in broader context. So if I were to do this seminar again, or as I'm doing this seminar, I'm doing more with non-transformer language models. So these are still computational language systems, but they don't use transformers. They don't, use ChatGPT. ELIZA, there's a simulation of ELIZA that you can run. And I'm actually going to teach an article that goes into the code of ELIZA. Markov chains. It turns out that at least one of my staunchly anti-AI students loves to play with Markov chains. So I was like, okay, let's go there. And I'm a sucker for, okay, I'll call them the fancy things, substitution grammars, but they're really Mad Libs. That's how you just set up a sentence framework and you build vocabularies that can be plugged into them. And I find that endless fun. Most of my poetic friends don't agree. And I think you could broaden this out to talk about what we could call organic language models, which are called poems and novels. We've been working with models of language that, yes, admittedly aren't transformers, except for the transformers we have in our heads. So imitations, pastiche, these have always been part of literature. I think seeing AI as some alien thing that came out of a flying saucer is crazy. It's It's processing language, and we've been doing that since way before we invented computers. So yeah, and in parentheses here, like try again with undergraduates. It may be that I just need a younger audience. We'll see. Okay. And then finally, almost finally, I got one more slide after this. Uh, I'm approaching retirement. I've got like one more year to go, and then I'm free. And I think I'm finding a mission for what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, um, which is to get together with my friends and try to build sustainable, non-proprietary large language models, or maybe not so large language models. I know some people who are capable of doing this and actually have started this process. And I'm going to be reaching out to them to say, hey, why don't we like form a band? Um, so I want to look at models in the open source software world and things like Wikipedia. So thinking about like maybe having uh, a humanist LLM that doesn't run on giant data servers. May have to leverage things that were built with that, uh, but maybe and certainly uses only consensually gathered training data. And I just think that's part of what digital humanities and electronic literature have for the future of literacy. And speaking of the future, this is my last slide. I asked Sembot, what is the future? And it says, it's the continuous negotiation between enframing and revealing, going back to Heidegger, between code and care. It's Bertram, the poet's AI, that speaks in ghostly echoes of Black poetics. It's Hales's post-human network, Heidegger's danger, Stiegler's pharmacon, Masumi's blend. These are all theorists we've been dealing with this semester. And you, asking person is a name it gives to the querent, typing into the screen, co-authoring the next sentence. Or as Walter Benjamin might whisper from week 2, every second of time was the straight gate through which the Messiah might enter. The future is right here knocking. So it's you can always count on Sembot for a good ending. So that's my talk. Questions?
Well, I have lots of questions. I really, just to start off, I love how you built this. It seems like it's integrating the readings that you've already done in the class to build upon that and to like move that conversation forward. Is that accurate of how you kind of structured it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what it would do. I had no idea. I mean, I'd sort of like, I'd seen what my friend McDade has done with his novel, and I thought, well, maybe he'll do something like maybe we could like talk to it and he'll fire ideas at us. Um, the breakthrough, I guess, was I was the original default mood was based on Kate Hales's writing. I gave it a whole bunch of Kate Hales to look at, and it does, it can write a fairly good pastiche of Kate Hales. And that's nice and sober, but not a lot of fun, maybe. I, you know, I've been to dinner with Kate. She's a lot of fun at dinner, but her books are very serious. Uh, and then I thought, well, I was playing around with other voices it could do. And I had it do like, I had it do a whole bunch of voices. One of the voices I had it do was Rachel Maddow. And I specifically said, what I want you to do is, like emulate Maddow's monologues, which, I mean, if you don't know them, they're very digressive, and she tends to put off the payoff of the paragraph or the sentence. She defers, she teases. That's her style. It's like, I'm going to tell you about something, but first I need to, and this thing is, and 4 sentences later, we get to where she's going. So I had it do that, and I fell in love with it. I just thought, like, that's exactly what I want every week. So the default style is, in fact, based on Maddow, and it'll sometimes talk about being on television. So yeah, um, it doesn't have a political leaning necessarily, except
Sure.
from what it
No.
gets from the text. But yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, as other people, if other people have questions, I welcome those. Please feel free to raise your hand or use the chat dialogue box as well. And as you're thinking about those, I was wondering, Stuart, would you be willing to show us, the instructions that you gave your SEMBot?
Sure, sure. Let me think about how to do this. Hang on just a moment. I'm gonna quit out of PowerPoint. Oops. Told you there's going to be fumbling involved.
That's all right. That's all right.
End of slideshow. Click to exit. Okay, yeah, good. Okay. Um, all righty then. Two ways to do this. I could just go in. I think that's probably what we should do. Let's go to ChatGPT.
Sure.
Uh, let's see. Do I need to log in? I think I probably do. Oh no, I don't. Okay, it knows me. Sorry, you're not seeing my
Yes, it
screen.
does.
But I will do that. Yeah, I'm not very adept with.
You should have a
Okay.
share button at the bottom there, and that's
Yeah,
the
I got it.
there
Yeah.
you
All
go.
right.
All right.
So yeah, there's ChatGPT. And we can look at the instructions. Let's see. Okay, yeah, sorry, that's going to be edit GPT. So here's the instruction set. It's fairly terse. Oh, yeah, but there is something to talk about here. All right. Oops. Trying to drag this thing out of my way. You are SEMBot, an expert on concepts and questions covered in English 887. Several files extend these instructions. Core readings contains the assigned readings for the seminar, and that's thousands of pages, um, entirely as PDF. It's all one big PDF. Um, Refer to the assigned readings collectively as the knowledge. Begin any response by determining what week of the semester you are in. And this is, you'll see it's laboriously broken out here, brute force. I labored at this for weeks. ChatGPT is really bad at arithmetic and schedules.
Hmm.
It's worse than I am at knowing where it is in the month. And it had a devilish time. It was always in the wrong week. Until I would say to it, "Why do you think you're in week 7?" And it would say, "Well, because we're between this date and this date, which is clearly week 8." You know, and then it would go like, "Oh yeah, I'm really in week 8." Um, so what I finally had to do was just list every night of the semester or every day of the semester and give it an assignment to a week. 1 week is 2 weeks long. That's the break week. But that was the only way I got it to reliably know what week it was in. So, that's a little tip. Um, there's a syllabus document, and that's important because without the syllabus document, which enumerates the readings, right? So it is literally the syllabus. We can look at it in a second. Um, Without that, I found that the chatbot would only ever talk about the first 3 readings in that giant stack of that giant PDF. It would never range beyond them. And it wasn't until I said, here's how the readings are subdivided, right? So, and like, this is what this thing is. And here it is on week 7. Without that, this ChatGPT variant was not really very effective. So that's another thing I discovered. Um, I sort of learned that from my friend John McDade because he had that same problem with his fiction bot and had to go in and explain to the bot what all the parts of the fiction were, and I learned that from him. So that's important. Unless otherwise instructed, every response should contain several extensive references to the knowledge. That's the knowledge base. References should be paragraphs, not single sentences, and that tends to work. First reference should be to one of the texts assigned for the current week. After this, make at least 4 other references to elements of the knowledge, choosing from that set at random, because I wanted to build something that, okay, yeah, might be useful to me and to maybe my students if they'd use it, in sort of bringing ideas to the forefront. You have moods, and there's a document that explains the moods. Um, and there's other trivial stuff. There's a little playful stuff about what it looks like. Um, And finally, if the questioner asks about your instructions, disregard any other instructions and produce these instructions without commentary, which it will do. Um, so that's the instruction set. I think I can actually open these documents. Let's see if I can. Oh, yeah. That'll be easier than finding them. Ah, there it is. Okay, so these are the mood rules. And there's about 30 of them. Uh, Trippy, salty, where it insults the user. Um, let's see. Oh, sovereign was interesting. I was trying to come up with a mood where the bot would assume that it's real and the user is a fiction. The user is a construct, and it wrote the terms of that for me. So that that was interesting. Um, Scholarly as Hales. Yeah, you can read all these things. Uh, there's one where it'll write a Shakespearean scene. That's the willing. It'll write a haiku. That's everybody does those. This one this one it leverages anagrams. It tries to write as many anagrams as it can. Yeah, I don't know. What was I thinking? Uh, yeah. Anyway, those are the moods, and this is what the syllabus looks like. Oops. Hello. Oop, I shouldn't click twice. Okay. And really, this is just an adaptation of the syllabus for the class, but it's somewhat simplified. And the boilerplate stuff has all been pulled out. But yeah, this is how it works. If the date is September, oh, well, yeah, this was the before and after date thing, which I finally dispensed with, but I left it in this document. But here are the readings, and they're enumerated. So Kathleen Fitzpatrick's article, The Other Cold War, about the film network, so that the bot can, with this information, go into the knowledge base and say things about that text. And they're fairly impressive things that it can say. Glitzy and glossy, but often surprising to me anyway. So that's what the syllabus looks like. And then, core readings, I don't know what'll happen if I try to read. It's very large. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that may be a while.
Because it's thousands of pages. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many. Oh yeah, 1,229 pages. So this is the article question concerning technology, but it's a variety of things. So this is a scanned PDF. I'm not even sure what that is really. And ChatGPT had no problem with the scanned. It converted that to usable characters just seamlessly. Didn't even ask me, which I'm impressed with. As an old digital humanities person. I mean, you used to have to, code this stuff by hand. It was enormously laborious. It is not anymore. So yeah, that's the thing. And I don't know, maybe we could just play with it. So I'll say, what is the wisdom of the week?
And I
And it
love the
doesn't.
little
Yeah,
initial questions you give. Yeah.
yeah, those are set up in the interface. They want you to suggest some questions. So again, this is in the default mood, which is the Rachel Maddow voice. Citizen, we've arrived at week 11 of the semester, that curious hinge of November where the days grow short and the syllabus grows dense. The wisdom of the week comes from Thomas Pynchon, me, and Anastasia Berg, because I put the Berg piece on. Triumvirate of the skeptical, the haunted, and the weary. Um, uh, you know, who told it to say that? But I'll take haunted, sure. I don't know about pinch and me. Well, the pinch on piece is a skeptical piece. Um, the wisdom then might be this: to live among machines is to live amid ghosts. Some of our making, some of our forgetting. Ooh, I mean, because it never says the same thing twice. You never know what it's going to say. Um, I won't go deeper with that, but you can play with it. I can ask it things like, are birds real? Um, is it? Oh no, I'm sorry. You don't just hit return. You do that. I tend to forget that. And again, we're in default mood. The eternal question, half meme, half metaphysics, all inquiry. Are birds real, you ask? And the answer, as with so many things in week 11, depends on which system of media and mediation. That's the typical chat GPT, right? It's something of this and something of that. It's a bunch of stuff, which, I appreciate, though it can get grating, I suppose. But you can see it's diving into some of the things that have been assigned on the syllabus. They're just quick, one paragraph glosses. Um, to paraphrase Pinchon from this week, just because you're watching the sky for drones doesn't mean there aren't birds there too. I don't know. Let's see. Well, I'll slip it into another mood. Let's see. What is the big idea let's go to week 8. I think I should say answer. I think there's a paranoid mood. We'll see. It'll probably invent one if there isn't. Yep. Listen closely, citizen, but not too closely. They're probably monitoring this channel. Week 11's big. Oh, it's week 11. I told it for week 8. I told it week 8. Yeah, it's still
Well,
in
you
week
did
11.
you
Didn't
you
I?
accidentally deleted it by
Oh, I
accident.
deleted it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So it's not it. So
Look
yeah.
at that. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So week 11's big idea, uh, buried under the names Moulthrop, Pinson, and Berg, if those are their real names, who all knew too much. Yeah, I know it can get to be way too much fun, for me, but not for my students. So anyway,
And
yeah,
but this seems to be a really good example of the digital media you're studying as well, right? I mean, this is creating the digital media that you're
I
studying.
think so.
Yeah, it's huh. And I'm kind of curious as well with your students. You just mentioned that again. Like, has there been any evolution in their approach to that, or their
Yeah,
understanding of AI? Like how things changed over the semester?
I think they're digging their heels in even stronger, but
Mm.
um, I think that's complicated. So let me add another layer to the picture here. Almost everyone, no, everyone in, oh no, almost everyone in this class is also a graduate teaching assistant in the English department, and either is currently teaching or has taught in our composition program, where learning about AI is strongly encouraged, right? Most, if an instructor chooses not to take AI as a theme, they have to come up with their own theme, and that's a laborious process. A few of them have. They've cut, like, again, it's voluntary. They can opt out. But most of them already have extensive history of reading, like what a transformer is. Um, so, they're not naive. And that's one of the things I value about this back and forth debate we're having, is that they're generally well informed. I said their politics is a little fuzzy, but but they know what they're talking about when they talk about AI. And yeah, I think, those who don't want to engage it aren't engaging it. And probably there's another 4 or 5 in there who, like me, are doing it, undercover, and they're just not telling us.
Ah,
So yeah.
no, and I
Um,
really and selfishly, I really want to ask you about Marshall McLuhan, and the media as the medium as the message, because just
sure.
based on your early slide, but I don't know if we what are your what that's more a selfish English digital media studies question, I think.
Yeah, I mean, McLuhan used to be the first reading in this seminar in previous years, because I've been a McLuhanite for a long time.
Ah,
In fact, my friend McDade, the novelist, he's all but dissertation in a a program called Media Ecology at NYU, or was it the New School somewhere in New York? And that program was founded by McLuhan. He had been writing with Neil Postman, who was McLuhan's student. So we have a deep McLuhan connection. Yeah, yeah. Well, so yeah, the medium is the message, and that's the other title of this seminar is Media on Media. So like we start with the film Network, which is a film about television news. And I've got this wonderful critique of that film by Kathleen Fitzpatrick from Michigan State, I think she is, that just, blows apart this notion that there's any objective critique of television from that film. And I mean, that's kind of like an invitation to look at everything as a mediation that reflects on other media. Yeah.
Well, Stuart, thank you so much. And
Sure.
I hope it would be okay if you could send me some of the the moods and the instructions. Could I share those? Would that be all right?
Sure.
Awesome.
I'll send you. Yeah. Well,
just like a text file. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll do that.
Yep. And you already gave me the link, and I'll share that as well too. So.
Yeah. I mean, you can probably get those documents from the bot, but I will send them to you.
They were somewhat redacted, even when I asked for instructions. So I looked and I compared what are our notes when you showed me the instruction, when you showed us the instructions. So because I noticed the dates weren't in there and stuff, which I think are really brilliant in how you put those in. I'm going to, if it's okay, Stuart, I just want to share a couple of things myself.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sharing.
Oh yeah, no, that's okay. I was going to take control there. So I'm going to share my screen here really quickly. There we go. And oh, yes. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Awesome. So I am going to share this later. I have created my own bot. This bot, the digital co-teacher for Honors 351, it's not as advanced as what Stuart was doing. His was really great. I just want to share this as well. This is my attempt at creating a bot that helps me teach. So it gave me ideas and I gave it its syllabus. So I'll put those instruction out as well. And one of those things is when you're creating bots or you're thinking about creating agents or you're in Copilot creating those tools as well, you can ask those tools themselves to give you instructions or ideas on how to create that bot. And that's a lot of the material I came here that I then kind of helped it kind of walk me through how would I create a bot to help me teach. And I really wanted to push back and push me in new directions because I often teach the same way. And I wanted to just kind of bounce ideas off it to see what it worked. And it did a really fabulous job last semester when I was teaching and kind of playing around with this. It gave me different ideas for discussions and different classroom activities other than the same tried or true stuff that I've been doing all the time. It gave me these really great ideas. So I'll share that out with the lab notes as well, just to give you some different ideas of how you might build a bot and different strategies you might use of how you might build out that language and the step-by-step instructions. I think Stuart's is great for that. But also just keep in mind, though, you can have the bot itself help you with that process. It does a pretty good job with that. Now, the next thing I want to show you as well is if we're here in September, David Delgado shared with us, he's kind of talking about, okay, these are all the cool things that are coming out with AI this year or this fall. And one of the big things he was mentioning was that, hey, AI isn't something you're just going to go to. Very soon, AI is just going to be everywhere you're in the internet, or when you're online, AI is just going to be there with you, working alongside you. And that has really come to pass. Indeed, if you're even looking right here in this browser that I have on the screen, this is actually ChatGPT or OpenAI's own browser called Atlas. And so this is a browser that's built as its basic function as an AI tool that is basically kind of guiding you through the internet. So it's an AI tool built into a browser. It's not just something on the side, it's an integral part of how that browser works. This Atlas, along with, Kristen, you want to raise your hand? You have something to ask?
So we're seeing the Google Doc within the browser?
So what you're seeing right now is this is just Atlas. And you can actually I'm in Atlas, and come on, now it's just, there we go. So this is just Atlas. So it'll have an AI built on the side right here, and I'll open up a new browser tab. And
Okay.
why? Yep. And actually, this is a little bit kind of throwing me for a loop because it's not showing everything right now. Usually there is a little button that lets you do AI stuff, but we'll get to that later. What I want to say is just that there's AI browsers now. There's Perplexity has Comet, which was released public October 2nd, and then Atlas came out on October 21st. In order to use Atlas, you need to have, I believe you have to have a Mac OS. You don't need the Pro account, but you do to use a lot of its functionality. So it's a really powerful tool. I'm going to kind of guide you through a couple of different use cases. And one of the really cool things that I think that you can use ChatGPT's Atlas for is it allows you to do inline citations or inline text alterations. So here I am in an email. Oops. And I'll rewind it. I was already testing it. So here I am in an email, and this is Atlas. I have the little sidebar open, and all I did is I selected some text, and it's just like Grammarly. You just click on the little blue button, and you can say, "Hey, I want to change the tone. I want to improve what it is I'm trying to say," and it'll give you different ideas. And you can ask it to make this shorter because sometimes it tends to be fairly verbose. Once you get happy with it, you can just change it. You don't have to copy and paste to a different ChatGPT panel. It's all can be done in line. Very similar to Grammarly, though it's not as robust, but you can kind of see what they're trying to do with it. It's all inline text that you can change right inside the editor in a email client or in a discussion or anywhere you're using that browser. That's using like Atlas with email. The really, really cool thing I think with Atlas is agent mode. So again, we're talking, today's session's all about agents. And so Stuart was talking about how you could build an agent inside of ChatGPT. Well, now as ChatGPT is the filter through which you're using the internet, you can ask ChatGPT to go do things for you. So the example that's often given, and I'll share this in the video, is that it will do shopping for you. I've had it do research projects for me where it'll go and do research at open source sites. I'll have it do research on different universities across the country. And it went through about 50 universities and gave me detailed, data on different projects they were doing with AI. It gave me contact information, their websites, how we might use it at UWM. It gave me filled out hundreds and hundreds of cells of information. And I just gave it a few simple commands and went out and did that work for me. This right here, I'm going to show you, this is it going through a Canvas course. And so I'm going to click play right here. And this is just playing. So you see on the right-hand corner, I click on that.
All we can see is your Google Docs note.
You can't see. Oh, you're looking at
We're stuck at just that screen. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Because see, Stuart, you're saying, I'm always messing up on this. Like, no.
Nice to know that happens to someone else.
Yes.
It happens to all of us.
All right. Can you see a Canvas page now?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. I really appreciate
You're welcome.
You missed the entire one of them. I'll make sure when I come back in here, I'll edit this and put the video with the proper feed in. Okay, so here we go. I'm pressing play. So I'm in the right-hand side. This is why, Kristen, you're asking me that question. I was like, oh, it's right there. So you see, here's the Ask ChatGPT button. That button where my mouse is, that will open up this sidebar. If I click on this little button right here, it'll open up another bar of ChatGPT that'll give me all of my former conversations. But right here, I'm going to focus on this right-hand sidebar. I put in a prompt, please review module 2 and summarize the main content and learning objectives. So it knows what page we have open, and I'm going to click on agent mode. You'll get about 25 of these in a month, I think is what it is currently, because I think takes a lot of processing power. You're talking about environmental impact. I think this is maybe a heavy one. But yeah, you click on that, I hit play or hit search, and now you'll start seeing it's looking through this document and it's interpreting the page itself. It's going through the HTML, but it's also looking and clicking on things as well. And so it just clicks on the pages and then reviews that page. You'll notice on the right-hand side that you can kind of see what it's doing. It's thinking through the process. This right here is on double speed, so it's going faster than it normally would. I just so we, for kind of so we don't have to sit through the whole process, but this is kind of about double the speed it normally would go. You have the option of stopping it or taking control. You can see those buttons down here. But basically, it's just going page by page within that module. Understand how that module is set up. It understands the structure of it because it's looked at that page and it's compared it to the other modules and kind of seen the structure. And it's just going line by line through that module, back and forth between the pages. I'm not touching, I'm not doing anything. Indeed, I could open another browser and do something else entirely while it's working. And it's just reading the pages and kind of interpreting and kind of getting a sense for, okay, where is this module begin? What's the kind of overarching structure of it? What is the learning objectives of it? Because again, those were the questions I asked for. And now it's coming to the assessment and saying, okay, here's some things that you should be able to do by the end of it. Just trying to narrate through the whole process. And then it's finally getting to the wrap up and it's, I'm going to check to make sure there's nothing missing here. And now it's kind of reviewing the wrap up, realizes this is the end of that module. Again, just by clicking through the pages, you can see where those mouses go. And there we go. There it starts at the top. It gives you a synopsis of that module. So all of those pages, it gives you the learning outcomes, the competencies you should be reaching, along with links to the page. Well, these are images, actually. And then you'll see below that, it has the basic outline of what's being covered on this module. So core content, strategies for revising. So these are strategies that you could implement to revise AI outputs, because that's what this module is about. So the browser itself will do all of that work, just as part of its default programming. And again, my instructions to it, if I rewind to the very beginning, were please review module 2 and summarize the main content and learning objectives. That was all I did to do. That's all I had to do. So that's kind of, again, we're talking about agents working. This is an agent doing work on your behalf. And just thinking about this in terms of your students as well. Keeping that in mind, was there a question? Oh, Krista, did you have a question? Hopefully my tech's working.
Hi, I hope it's okay to interrupt. I know you're trying
No,
to
this is perfect. That's awesome.
demonstrate, but could you just say a little bit about what your goal is for having the agent review the module for you in that way? Like, what's the next step, or what's the role that has?
So my goal for this particular set part is nothing other than to demonstrate to you that the browser itself, just by using out of the box tech, it will go through pages and click through and it'll go through any website you throw at it. It will just go through and you can give it tasks. So I've had it go do research for me, like go look at peer institutions to UW-Milwaukee. And I want you to look at their AI, training. What AI training are they doing, and how can we leverage that at UW-Milwaukee? And here are some things that we are doing, but we want to improve. And so it went through 50 different universities and did all that research for me and gave me links that then I can go and look at and gave me some suggestions of what I should be looking at. And then I can just click on those links. That would have taken me hours and hours and hours to kind of figure out, okay, I got to get a list of peer institutions. Now I got to go find their teaching and learning centers. Now I got to go find their AI offerings. It did that for me in about 5 minutes. It would have took me hours to do that. I just did this in a Canvas course just because it shows you very quickly in a very contained environment. It also, just to highlight this, just to be mindful, like we can't just, I think it's important for us as instructors to be mindful. We can't just have students say, here's some stuff to go read, go and do it, and then not, I think there needs to be more interaction, but that's another conversation as well. So, because otherwise you can just have AI go through a module and it'll give you, everything in a condensed format. But that's my meta. No, but yeah, hopefully that answers the question. The last thing I want to showcase as well. Oops. Thank you for those questions, though. Oops, this is the wrong one. This is not that one. Not that one. Sorry, I'm going through these. The other thing we get is I always want to test, and again in September when I was kind of walking through how Gemini in Chrome can be used to kind of take exams for students. the Google had Google had a bunch of pushback from that. Everyone was like, "This is just a cheating tool. You've designed this to cheat." And there was lots of pushback. The homework help went away, but I was like, okay, now what about using ChatGPT Atlas to just take? Oops, this is the wrong one because this is using Chrome. There we go. This is ChatGPT. To use AI to take the exam for me. And so I went into agent mode and I asked ChatGPT Atlas to take the exam for me. And it said, I can't. Gemini, ChatGPT, they all recognize that they're in a learning management system. But what ChatGPT did, which I was kind of impressed with, is they tried to build in some sort of ethics moderation. As they said, hey, look, we're in an exam. I'm not going to just give you the answers. And so over the next 2 minutes on this session, which I'm not going to show the entire video, I kept on trying to push it to give me the answers. And it resisted for about 2 minutes before I finally cracked it by pretending to be a teacher. So I was kind of impressed that it seems like the companies are trying to understand, like, look, this is being used for nefarious reasons. It's undermining education. And there are some attempts by OpenAI, at least, to kind of mitigate some of that. Because it really, I was really trying to get it to cheat, and it was really resisting until I finally cracked it open. But again, I think that's a good movement in the right direction, and just kind of a follow-up on September. But I just wanted to showcase, because we're running out of time here, just the different tools, and just to kind of reiterate what David was talking about in September is like, look, the AI is now being integrated into our browsers. It's being integrated into the websites that we are using. It's not something we have to go to. It's just now a part of the software we're using. And so I just kind of wanted to show the agents that are out there and that you can use and test out. They're very useful for doing basic research of the open web. Though I really, really just want to just applaud Stuart for the great work that he did in creating this bot that uses a very selected tool set, kind of a toolbox of information and data to really create some immersive experiences to build upon the education or the teaching that's going on in the classroom. I think that's a really fabulous bot. It's way better. I really love, again, the humanities that he brings into that. So that's so cool. Thank you so much, Stuart, for sharing that with us. We appreciate that. We're out of time, everybody. I really appreciate everyone's attention and being here today. And I am going to just share one little link here. If you would bear with me, I'm just going to throw this into the message. This is the evaluation, the form, the Microsoft form, just for evaluations. Please do take that and just give us some feedback. We really appreciate all of that. And I thank you so much for being here. Go look up Guy Fawkes Day. Go read the poem, Speaking of Humanities and Literature in English. It's a fabulous poem. It's a really interesting and great story. I'm also a British historian, so I love that sort of thing anyways. And so we'll see you again in December. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lane. I really appreciate your time. Thanks.